welcome everyone to this wonderful meeting of Tigertales Toastmasters, where we have a very good theme today, which we can totally relate to in these times, which is social unity. And I would like to welcome our Toastmaster for the day, Brendan, to take us through this meeting.
Good evening, Tigertales members. It has been quite a long time since I've been Toastmaster at this club. I'm very excited to do so. And tonight's theme, as Majita just said, is social unity. At the beginning of our quarantine back in March, I was leading another club meeting and decided on the same theme. And that came about because the word social distancing had just become popular. That was coming up in pretty much every email, conversation, everywhere I turned, social distancing. And I wanted to encourage that club to look for the opportunities to be united when we're being physically distant. And what we've seen in clubs across Rochester, but especially in Tigertales, is people from all over the world, quite literally, are joining this call. Ming Shou just woke up and joined the meeting. It's very early in the morning for him. I don't think I would have done the same if I was in his position. So thank you for joining us. But looking for the opportunities to remain connected during a time when we're doing the best thing we can for ourselves and for others, which is to be physically apart. So grateful that we live in a time of technological achievement that we can actually see each other's faces and still be distanced. So let's move on to the agenda for tonight. As most of us know, we have a few portions to this meeting: prepared speeches, which will be our first. Then we have table topics, educational moment, and evaluations. Now, for those who aren't familiar, educational moment was something we have done previously and haven't done for quite some time, but we had a speaker drop out kind of in the last day or two. So Xavier decided to step up, and between table topics and evaluation, he's going to lead us through a brief lesson. And this is really a topic of his choosing, but whether it's a tangible or intangible skill that we can add to the club for ourselves, for its members as leaders or speakers, that's something that he will educate us on from his experience. So certainly look forward to that, and definitely take the time to soak in what Xavier has prepared in that short educational moment later on in the meeting. To help me behind the scenes, we have our functionaries. So first, can I have, let's make sure I get this right. All right, Bhakti, for the speeches, do you want to explain what you'll be doing to keep track of the time?
Sure, Brendan. For today's speaker, everybody has 5 to 7 minutes except Xavier. For the rest of the speaker, when it's around 5 minutes, I'll be showing a green light on my phone. When it's around 6 minutes, I'll be showing a yellow light. And when it's around 7 minutes, I'll be showing the red light. After that, you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Xavier is a special case today. He has 2 to 3 minutes to complete his speech. So around 2 minutes, I'll be showing the green light. Around 2.5 minutes, I'll be showing the yellow light. And around 3 minutes, I'll be showing the red light. And you too have 30 seconds to wrap up your speech. Back to you, Mr. Toastmasters.
Thank you, Bhakti. And our grammarian for the evening, Sarah, do you want to explain your role and the word of the day?
I do. As grammarian today, I will be looking for good uses of grammar, for areas where your grammar can be improved. And I'm also going to be looking out for the word of the day. This word of the day is especially beloved by our Toastmaster, whom I've met on several occasions. It is valiant. Oh, I should write it big. I will do that. There are 2 definitions. One is possessing or acting with bravery or boldness. A synonym would be courageous. The second one is less widely used. It is a flying aircraft carrier used by UNIT in the Doctor Who series. I don't think anyone's going to use it in that way except maybe me, but I'm not speaking today. An example of sentence is there are many valiant healthcare workers around the world risking their lives to take care of the sick and injured. Use the word of the day if you can. We'll talk more about it at Table Topics.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian. And last but certainly not least, our newest member, tackling his first role, we have Ming Shou as the Ah Counter. Can you explain your role tonight?
Of course. Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Toastmaster. And good evening, our club members and guests. And the all counter tonight, I will note the filter words and repeated words used by all speakers during the meeting tonight. At the end of the meeting, I will give a report to you. If anyone wants more detail, you can contact me after meeting. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Wonderful, thank you. Now we move on to the prepared speeches for tonight. Our first speaker is Cyril, and his grammarian, his evaluator is Grant. Grant, would you be able to comment on what you'll be looking for tonight?
Yes, I can. So Cyril will be giving the third speech of the Level 2 Motivational Strategies pathway. And the goal of the speech is to talk about mentorship and how it shapes our lives. He wants me to watch out for his use of pauses, his ability to connect with the audience through the story, and his use of varying vocal tones. So I wish you the best of luck, Cyril.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. So for our theme this evening, I had asked all of the speakers or people I will be introducing tonight this question: how have you fought for or encouraged social unity? This was Cyril's response. My country has over 63 different ethnic groups, and these different groups have lived in harmony with each other until very recently, when some violent extremist group tried to turn the Mosi group, mainly farmers, against the Fulani group, breeders. He leveraged the fact that he was born with a Mosi father and a Fulani mother, and as a young influencer in his country, he tries to show that we are all the same and we should be united against our common enemy, which is hatred. Thought that was a beautiful response. Couldn't think of a better way to introduce you as a person than your own words and heart towards being united socially. So without further mention, let's have Cyril in his speech, A Tribute to My Mentors.
Have you ever wondered what your life would look like without a mentor? Dear Toastmasters, dear guests, I'm the fourth of a family of 6, and unlike many other kids of my age, I didn't get the chance to grow up being close to my siblings and to my father. My siblings were always gone to study far away from home, and my dad was always busy working at the hospital. My dad is a very dedicated person, and he really loved his job. And beside the work at the hospital, he will also handle small businesses so he could provide for the family and for the tons of people that were coming to our house. So I got the opportunity to grow up being close to my mother. And my mother is one of the sweetest person on earth. It's not just because it's my mother, but you know, some people said angels, there are angels on earth. And if that is true, my mother is certainly one of those. My mother is a very religious person, and she wanted me to go to church, but I didn't want to. But it was my mother, and I could not say no. So I started attending a small church called Paroisse Christois de Clé de Boromo. At church, I attended multiple groups. I was an altar boy, I attended the choir, and I was part of a group called Bold Heart, Bold Soul, which can also mean valiant heart, valiant soul. In 2006, we got the opportunity to receive a young priest called Alfred. Alfred was light-skinned. He always had that smile on his face, and he was really handsome. And I remember the girls always complaining, how could God let someone like him become a priest? This is such a waste. But girls, you know what I'm talking about. Alfred was one of the smartest person. While the girls were crushing on him, I was amazed by how smart he was. He really loved literature. He won 3 times in a row a national literature competition. And very recently, he won an international poetry competition. So we quickly became close because I also loved to read and to write. This encounter with Alfred was going to be the beginning of a long journey that led me to become who I am today. One day, Alfred and I, we were having lunch at the priest's house, as we used to do. It was a particular day because it was raining, and for a country like mine, rain is always a blessing. So let's call this day a blessed day. In the middle of lunch, Alfred asked me this question. Cyril, what would you aspire to become when you grow old? I scratched my head and I was like, I don't know. My dad wants me to become a doctor. Sometimes I want to be a priest, but all I know is that I want to help people. Alfred looked at me and smiled, and we finished the lunch. After a few days, Alfred started taking me to some trips. We would travel to rural communities, and this was my very first contact with people of the rural areas. One day, we traveled to a community called La Para, and I met one of the sweetest person on earth. Despite the suffering, the poverty, and everything they lacked, those people found a way to show us some love, and that really touched my heart. So I quickly ran to Alfred and I told him, comrade, this is how we used to call each other. Now I know what I want to become and what I want to do when I grow old. If I grow old, I want to build schools and hospitals, I want to make roads, and I want to provide food and water for those people. I kept this commitment until now. And throughout my life, I have dedicated myself to making a difference in my community. And this is what is driving me. Alfred was not only my life mentor, he was also my spiritual father. We will have long hours discussion about faith and religion. Once I asked him this question, why is it that God does not prevent us from sin and let all those people suffer? Alfred looked at me and said, God gave us one of the greatest gifts, our freedom. He created us free so we could have the opportunity to choose or not to choose to come to him. And that's how much he loves us. Alfred was also my friend, and he was my brother. I found on him the brothers that I didn't get the opportunity to hang out with. Our relationship was such that even if Alfred wanted to make a decision, he would call me and ask my opinion. Very recently, he called me to talk about a project that he wanted to start for a rural community. I gave him my opinion, and the project is about to start right now. By this story, I wanted to show how important mentors are in the life of people like me. Mentors are different from coaches. Coaches focus on developing short-term skills, but mentors, they impact our life, and they focus on developing multiple skills for long-term goals. And today, I wanted to give a shout out to my mentors, because some mentors, we choose them, but some others, they came into our lives. I had many mentors throughout my life. Some of them are helping me to develop my professional career, like Ashil, and some others are helping me to develop my public speaking skills, like Alex. And that's really funny because all my three mentors' names start by A: Alfred, Ashil, and Alex. So today I wanted to give a shout out to all the mentors in my life and in yours for all the great work that they are doing. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Surya. That was an amazing tribute to your mentors. You did them well, both in your speaking and your heart sharing. Now for everyone else, can we have a 1 minute timer and just send out a 1 minute notice after that 1 minute has passed? And everyone send a private chat with any comments or feedback. Thank you. The thumb was almost cut off on the side of the screen, but finally got it. Moving on to our second prepared speech for the evening is Roberta, and her evaluator is Titra. Could you explain what you will be looking for tonight in her speech?
Hello, everybody. Roberta is working on a level 4 project in an effective coaching pathway. It's on improvement through positive coaching. She has asked me to look forward and how is the effect of her coaching on someone. I'm looking forward to see it and hear about more on it. Back to you, Brendan.
Thank you. In asking that similar question to Roberta, where have you fought for or encouraged social unity? She got right to the heart of it, and I'll read exactly what she said. At a time in her life, she's at a time in her life when she's pursuing all kinds of ways to be inclusive of all kinds of people and to be hearing all kinds of stories. So let's return that favor and be receptive and listen to what Roberta has to share with us tonight. So give it up for Roberta and her speech entitled, "The Day Everything Went Down the Toilet." Roberta.
Have you ever seen a picture of a runner crossing the finish line after finishing a marathon? Success, triumph, victory. That picture can be an amazing reflection of all the hard work and the trials that went into completing this goal. But it might not give you an accurate depiction of what the runner was feeling like at mile 20. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, if you're out there, this image of a runner crossing the finish line was what was etched in my mind as I set about coaching in a very recent experience. I won't bore you with the nitty-gritty of the goal that we were going after, where we had set our eyes upon, but you can probably paint a fairly accurate picture yourself. Waste elimination almost 100% of the time on a regular basis, i.e., potty training. My partner and I, my almost 2-year-old son Zeke, had decided it was time. Well, mostly I decided it was time. The goal was clear, the practicals were set, We were gonna wear underpants. We were gonna not wear diapers. We were gonna use the potty when we had to go, and we were gonna use it correctly. My own experience and expertise were at the ready. I personally have effectively been using a potty for over 32 years with almost a 100% track record. I say 100% almost because even adults have accidents in times of distress. But let's get back to the goal at hand. I did my research. I had my own experience and expertise. The tips and the techniques were in abundance. I had books to read while we were on the potty about Thomas the Tank. I had songs to sing like Old MacDonald, where you can add as many animals to that farm as you need to. And I had Sesame Street underwear for Zeke to wear. Who doesn't want to wear Sesame Street underwear? The landscape was far and wide as we looked at our goal. And looking at our goal, as we said about it, we had a gamut of experiences. We had days in a row where we didn't have any accidents. And then we had days where Zeke had to change his underpants 4 times before lunch. With the gamut of experiences came the gamut of emotions. Success, triumph, pride, defeat, despair, frustration, and for Zeke, a lot of tears from time to time. I had to do a self-check. I had all the necessary parts to coach him through this. I had researched, I had read, I had looked at all the mommy blogs online. I had everything it would take to coach him through this transformational process. I had everything it would take to take him to new heights. I had everything it should take to open up new doors to him, specifically the bathroom door. But it was in a moment of almost despair that I stumbled upon a simple but profound truth about what is actually needed to be a successful coach. This particular day, Zeke voiced that he needed to use the potty, and as he trotted back to the bathroom on his own, I shouted, "Push your pants down." He shouted back, "I already did." I made my way back there and I saw him. He was sitting on the potty, he had pushed his pants down, and I was just about to bend down and do my happy dance with him, to do my "I effectively coached you through this" dance. And I looked, his pants were soaked. Just a little too late again. I could feel the defeat start to wash over me, but something stopped it. Something put me in check. This is a process. This is a process that's probably going to be really hard to define when we've arrived, when Zeke has arrived. Hopefully, by the time he's 18, we can say he's mastered this skill. It may be a little fuzzy if we can say it's at 3, 3.5, 5, or 7, when accidents weren't an issue anymore. But it was in this moment that I connected with, this is a process and it's an emotional journey. It's an emotional journey that I need to have a healthy engagement with. I can't expect success on day 1, and I can't expect that when I'm coaching someone that there's no failures or setbacks after we have a day of success. My expectations as a coach need to match reality. And my emotional engagement as a coach need to match my expectations. The realization in that moment was that I needed to pace my emotional investment with the person I'm coaching and to be able to sync up with the physical reality of where Zeke was. Now, whether it's teaching Zeke to use the potty or teach a mentee how to use pauses more effectively in a speech, it's recognizing that my emotional investment as a coach is a skill to hone. There will be moments of soaring victory and moments of crushing defeat. And it's imperative that I celebrate my mentees' successes and that I mourn the missed opportunities, but to never derail the process by overextending my emotional response. So it was more than just having the picture in my mind of where the finish line was. It was knowing the emotional journey of passing through mile 20 to get to that finish line. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you for that speech, Roberta, and I do hope that Zeke figures it out by 18, excluding those times of extreme distress. Let's have another minute on the clock for feedback to Roberta. Thank you, Bhakti. Thus concludes our prepared speeches for tonight. Our next section of this meeting is impromptu speaking, also known as table topics. That is going to be led by none other than Alex Turner. Most everybody knows him at this point, but you probably didn't know some of his thoughts on where he's fought for social unity. So Alex gave some practical examples from his work recently. In his response, he said, in my work, my eviction prevention is pretty common among tenant advocates to demonize landlords. Alex tries his best to speak up for both sides in that struggle between the tenants and the landlords right now, as so many people are struggling to make ends meet and simply pay for the place that they're living in. So wonderful work that you're doing, Alex, to help people have a place to live while they're trying to figure everything out during this time. Let's have Alex lead us through this time of impromptu speaking. Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As Brendan mentioned, our table topics portion of the meeting is all about impromptu speaking. It's about getting up there in front of us or jumping into the limelight of the Zoom call and making things up for a minute or two. And to tell us about how that minute or two is going to go, we're going to have our timer give us a report of how timing works for table topics. Bhakti?
So for table topic, the speakers have 1 to 2 minutes. At around 1 minute, I'll be showing the green light. At around 1.5 minutes, I'll be showing the yellow light. And at around 2 minutes, I'll be showing the green light. After that, you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Back to you, Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Bhakti. We also have another rule in our table topics. There's just 2 rules. One, you have to speak for at least a minute and under 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And our other rule is that you've got to use the word of the day. And to help us out with the word of the day reminder, please help me welcome Margaret, Mary, and Sarah.
Clap for myself. The word of the day, as previously mentioned, is valiant. I have it on the paper now. The more common definition, I'll repeat for you: possessing or acting with bravery or boldness, a synonym to courageous, which is most commonly used as an adjective. So there are many valiant healthcare workers around the world risking their lives taking care of the sick and injured. You must, Allison, use the word they in order to qualify for nothing at all. For the pride of victory and the glory of having your name announced after a drum roll. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian. And now I will be looking for some valiant volunteers. A little bit of alliteration for you. Valiant volunteers to step up for our questions. Our questions are a little tougher today, so I'm going to read the question off, and then I'm going to switch to gallery view so I can see all of you, and I'll look for hands. And one last reminder before we dive in here, anyone is welcome to volunteer for table topics. So if you are a guest or a brand new member or a longtime member, I would encourage you to step up and volunteer. First question for today on our theme of social unity. The first question is, why can't we all get along? Why can't we all just get along? Oh, here comes Deb. She wants to talk on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Why can't we all get along? I think there's a lot of reasons why we just as human beings cannot get along. I believe that there's usually a deep root of an issue somewhere, which every psychology major would probably say. If it's Freud, if it's Jungian, whatever your mantra or theory is, deep down, I think it's usually rooted out of insecurity. It takes a lot of valiant efforts to be honest and open and vulnerable about our differences with other people. Deep down, we usually don't get along because there's some kind of fear attached to it, whether it's a fear of not understanding the other person, their culture, their background. You know, right now with this heightened tension and awareness of bias and conscious and unconscious bias, it usually stems out of experiences, whether it's how you grew up, what you were told was right or wrong. It takes a lot of valiant courage to kind of go there and lean into what makes you feel uncomfortable, to stretch you and to really get at, what about this person am I not getting along with? Is it them? Is it the background? Is it the differences we have with each other? And I challenge you all to be courageous and challenge what you think about that and ask yourself, what is it I'm not getting along with in this situation? It's usually not the person, it's usually something else. Mr. Table Topics Master.
You to our first volunteer, Deb. Next question. A really common phrase, especially nowadays, is let's just agree to disagree. Let's just agree to disagree. Does that build unity? Why or why not? Agree to disagree. Does it build unity? Why or why not? Let's hear from Hassan.
Thank you, Alex. I really like this sentence, let's agree to disagree, which shows that people who say that they're valiant enough to value what other people think. I think when you say, let's agree to disagree, it means that you accept that the other people can have a different opinion than yours, but you are willing to listen to them and consider their opinion. I think most of the problem we have in our world, and I think I would like to answer your first question, why we can't get along is because most of the time we don't value what other people think, what they are. So that's why I really like the sentence, because I think if everybody accept that we can have different opinion, so we'll stop like considering each other like as enemy, because I've seen this even here in the US, when some people, when you have a different opinion, they automatically consider you as an enemy. And I still don't understand why can you people like treat each other as enemy just because we have different opinions. So that's why I think we should all agree to disagree. We should all accept that other people can have a different opinion, and the world will be better if we do that.
Thank you, Hassan, for that thoughtful response to that question. Our next question tonight. Tell us about a time that you healed a division and you got back to unity. Tell us about a time that you healed a division and brought things back to unity. It's a tougher one. Oh, Destin, wonderful. Yeah, come on up.
So I have a lot of nephews and nieces, and all the time they used to fight each other because of toys, because of the playground, because of not using my space and stuff like that. And I was always in the middle of those fights. So I know what it is to heal divisions. So what I used to do to get along was to buy them something that they would share and teach them how to share stuff. And then when they do something in common, instead of getting divided by what they think is best for them, they learn how to reunite. They learn that division is not important. What is important is to enjoy things together. So the experience I had with my nephews and nieces was very great because it also teach me to be humble in my divisions with people of my age or my divisions with elder people. And I remember my mom used to tell us a sentence, a phrase, my brother and I, in her tongue, she said, Bole Bantu, which literally means two people. It means that we always need each other to get along. We always need each other to move forward. So my nieces and nephews taught me very great lessons, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Destin, for jumping in. Just a quick reminder, make sure you're using the word of the day. Keep an eye on Sarah's screen. She's right here on my screen. Right over here. So always try to use the word of the day, but that was a wonderful response. Thank you so much, Destin. Our next question for tonight, we're just whipping through these. I'm gonna run out of questions before we run out of time. What is the most important unity muscle? And how can we grow it? What's the most important unity building muscle? And how can we grow it? Cyril, you wanna jump in?
I was a team leader working with a volunteering program. It's a UK volunteering program. And this program will gather young people from my country, Burkina Faso, and some young people from the UK. So we would work together on a project for 3 months and live together in a rural area. I noticed at some point that the group was divided because the people from UK will be in one side and the people from Burkina Faso will be at the other side. they will always disagree for small things, which usually are behavioral things, or sometimes the way they want to do some work, because the way we are taught to do things in Burkina Faso is different from the way they are doing things in the UK. So we had a reunion at some point where we tried to talk about our cultures. The volunteers from Burkina Faso will explain to the volunteers from UK how they see things and how they do things. If I react this way, this is how it means. And those from UK also, we also talk about their culture and teach us how they do things. And at some point, we found that we have so many differences, but we also have so many things in common. So what we did is to really build on those things that brings us together. And I remember this saying from one of the volunteers that I stole in one of my speech, who said that we may be different in a million ways, but our love for security, for love, is making us similar in a billion ways we cannot imagine. So I believe that the muscles for unity is what unite us instead of what divide us, and we should build on that. Mr. Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Cyril. All right, I've got one more question. Who is your unity hero and why? Who is your unity hero and why? Hassan, you've already gone. You don't get to go twice. All right, I see Mommy's hand up. Let's hear from Mommy.
My unity hero is Nelson Mandela. As we might all know, Nelson Mandela was the guy who went to prison for 27 years. He got out of the prison. Instead of holding grudges against people who persecuted him, who sent him to jail, he did everything to bring his country together. He told his supporters that if he had to pay back what he had received during the persecution he went through, the circle will continue in his country. And he wanted valiant people to oppose that. He was bold enough and valiant enough to even oppose his own supporters not to let the same circle of violence continue in his country. And after serving for only one term, he understood that he could step down and give the best example of unity in his country. Therefore, until tomorrow, Nelson Mandela will be my most influential social person who created social unity in the world. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Wonderful, thank you, Mommy. I see that our next session is scheduled to start at 7:20, but I'm going to leave 3 extra minutes so that Xavier has time for his educational moment master. But that means that we have time for one more table topic. And from our 5 questions, why can't we all just get along? Agree or disagree? Agree to disagree? Builds unity? Maybe not. Talk about a time that you healed a division and brought things back to unity. Who is your unity hero and why? And what's the most important unity building muscle? We got 5 questions. We have one more opportunity for a table topics response. Saw Shridar's hand sneak up there earlier. There he is. Go ahead, Sridhar. Let's hear from you.
So I can choose any of them. I think I'll choose your last question. Unity hero, right? My unity hero is a person named Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. You may not know him, but he's one of the freedom fighters and the first deputy prime minister of India. He played a very key role in uniting India the way you see in map today, because India before independence was divided into multiple states which were fighting for each other, and each was ruled by a different a British governor or something, I think. So, so what he did is, even after independence, there were a few states, the northern and southern states, which were still governing by themselves and their king. And he was the key person to unite all the states together and form a country. And with his valiant efforts to merge states and form a big country that you see today. So I feel he's my person for unity. Thank you.
We're not recording anymore. Cyril and Destin did not use the word of the day. So I have Deb, Hassan, Mommy.
Cyril and Hassan didn't use the word of the day, right?
No. Sridhar didn't. He did. Oh, Xavier said he did. Okay. Deb, Hassan, Mommy, and Sridhar used the word of the day.
Thank you. And was everyone in time?
Oh,
Yes?
unmuted. It is on.
Okay. We can't hear you, so I believe you are unmuted. And I believe
everybody was
Chitra,
on.
okay, good. Those 3 or 4 people that Sarah had listed, can you create a poll, send that out? And then when everybody, you see that pop up on your screen, vote for who you would like to see be the winner of nothing, as Sarah said. All right, thank you everyone. To lead us through this educational moment is Xavier. And in asking this question about social unity, he gave by far one of my favorite responses, and that's simply hearing stories is one of the simplest ways that Xavier loves to build social unity. And not only just to listen to somebody's story, but to be fully present when they're sharing, to be able to hear and feel and see and not have judgments, but simply just to absorb what they're sharing. And I hope all of us have been able to do that and enjoy as people have been sharing these amazing prepared speeches and table topics responses. And if you've never had a one-on-one conversation with Xavier, you should try it, because he is one of the best listeners I think I've ever had the pleasure of conversing with. Let's have Xavier lead us through this educational moment.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and of course, most welcome guests. I want to take you into the experiences that I've had over the past 6 years of preparing and giving speeches. And what it falls into is these 2 categories of how to prepare and give a speech. Over here is where I started, and that is with the I should. So I start up here excited, you know what? I should give a speech. And then the next thing that happens is I think about, oh man, like it's been so long since I gave a speech. Am I even good at this anymore? And then I procrastinate, and then I write a little bit and think it's terrible, and then procrastinate more, and then we're finally on the last day, and I just want to quit because I don't think I can give this speech now. But somehow, you know, I pull through, and I didn't do that great. So I'm even more discouraged until maybe 2 months down the line, I feel that I should again. And that is what we call the negativity spiral that takes you down. Because giving speeches is not fun if you don't prepare and you're not feeling like you're growing, you're not doing good. But there is another side, and I want to talk about that other side just as much, actually a lot more, hopefully. And that is the roller coaster of giving speeches. And where it starts is it's more valiant than this could ever be, because it starts with a vision of where you could be, this dream of what you could become. And usually this is done with your mentor, because now you have two people believing in this dream that you can successfully obtain. And it's good to have this dream expand as you keep hitting your goals. So last semester for me, it was to reach level 3. And now this semester going into the fall, my goal is for both Alistair and myself to reach level 5. And there's this cycle, because now you have this vision and you're excited because there's this step in the way that says, okay, you know what? I need to give this speech to take the next step in achieving this vision. So you're excited going into writing your speech, but as you write it, you still feel that discouragement of, is this even good? And then you scrap everything, you rewrite it maybe, hit this bottom point, but then you start practicing with your mentor and it starts getting better and you receive better feedback. And so you finally give it and you just do amazing. And this is like this 2-week cycle. And now on this next speech, you're even higher than you were before. So the question that I get after that is, what if I didn't do that 2-week cycle? What if it was a 2-hour cycle because I totally forgot about it and my VP education reminded me, hey, you're doing a speech tonight. You ready to go? And you freak out or something like that. That does not mean that you shouldn't give the speech. You can still go through all cycles of that roller coaster. It'll be a smaller one because you might not do as good. You had less time to prepare and get feedback, but this gives you the opportunity to both learn and grow and get better for the next step. And this is very important as well, because now you know that 2 hours is not enough time to really prepare for a speech. If you're going to do it, even like if you want to get the biggest roller coaster you can, you're going to compete, because that will give you tons and tons of time to practice and get better and better and better. And by the end of it, you'll be an amazing speaker. But you can't compete every time because we only have competitions once a year. But you can get into this 2-week cycle where you're constantly getting with your mentor, constantly giving speeches, constantly growing. And this can happen well outside of Toastmasters as well. You can have a vision for anything. I just sat down with my friend Justin, and now we have this vision of biking to Niagara Falls by the end of this year from my house, which is 85 miles. So you can do this with anything, but in Toastmasters, this is where we start. Mr. Toastmaster.
Wonderful. Thank you, Xavier, for sharing. Now we move on to the evaluations portion of the evening. Leading us through that time is a member that was here in Rochester for quite a while. He made a leave, and after a few months decided to join us, at least virtually. So it's wonderful to see his face again and his smile. I'm excited to see him lead this time. And when he responded to that question about social unity, he again referred to being connected as a group, not having biases, not having judgments, but coming in and doing all that we can to remove and purge that from ourselves and be connected as a group. Something like social unity is something we have to fight for, and it's not easy. And Mommy absolutely knows the value of that and seeks to pursue that in his life. Can't wait to see him lead this time for general evaluation. Mommy.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, Welcome to this portion of our meeting, which I qualify most of the time as the most important part because it's a very valuable moment for us where we measure the deviation between the set objectives and the achieved ones. And the more we work on reducing that deviation to make sure that what we achieve and what we had set initially as objective are equal, the better we become as public speakers. This portion comprises three parts. The first one will be evaluation of the prepared speeches. The second part of the evaluation will be the report of the functionaries. And the last one will be, of course, my evaluation of the general condition of the meeting. To start off with the evaluation of these prepared speeches, we had Cyril as first speaker tonight. Evaluating Cyril, we had Grant. In order to introduce the evaluators today, I asked them who is the most influential public speakers they have. And Grant responded that his most influential public speaker is Bill Gates because of how he uses his position of power to advocate for positive change in impoverished areas. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Grant for his evaluation of Cyril's speech.
Thank you, Mami. Cyril, you had a great speech topic, and it was a great tribute to your mentors. I really liked it. To start with, your introduction asked a question, and that question was, have you ever wondered what your life would look like without a mentor? And that was a great way to start. It's always good to start a speech with a question to engage the audience. Now, only because you asked me to look out, only because you asked me to look out for your use of pauses in your speech, I might say that you could have put a little bit more of a pause after the question to allow us to reflect on it a little bit more. Otherwise, your use of pauses were good throughout your speech, and I really have nothing else to comment on regarding the pauses there. They were all good. It was great to hear you differentiating between different people with varying vocal tones and voices. I noticed that you were using a lighter voice for your younger self when you were talking to Alfred. And I also thought that Alfred's voice sounded very similar to your own, but a little bit deeper. And to me, it was a little bit confusing, a little bit though, in the sense that your voice was lighter, but Alfred's voice was more similar to your own as it is right now. And I'd imagine that what you were going for with the lighter voice of you were trying to make it sound a little bit younger, a little bit more childlike maybe. And if that was your intention, then that was a great idea. You might, though, think about trying different voices and figuring out what works best for voices like Alfred, who, to me personally, sounded very similar to your own. During those times in which you were talking to different people, though, I really liked how you moved left and right to show that you were talking to different people, you know, positioning yourself this way or that way. It worked really well. And you used humor and a relatable story very well to draw the audience in and connect with them. For instance, that one spot in your speech where you were using humor, you were talking about that handsome priest and the girls that were crushing on him. I think that really drew us in a little bit more, and it definitely added to your speech. In summary, you had a great introduction that potentially could have used a little pause after that question. And you have talking, although you might want to think about specific more. and you used a really relatable story and had great storytelling in your speech.
Oh, are you back, Bhakti?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I was asking if you can remind us the timing rules for the evaluation.
Sure. Evaluators, you have 2 to 3 minutes to give your evaluations. At around 2 minutes, I'll be showing the green light. At around 2.5 minutes, I'll be showing yellow. And at around 3 minutes, I'll be showing the red light, after which you have 30 seconds to wrap up your evaluation. Over to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Bhakti. To continue, the second speaker tonight was Roberta. Evaluating Roberta, we have Chitra. To the question, who is your most influential public speaker and why? Chitra responded that she likes Gary V, also known as Gary Vaynerchuk, because he has a personal style of delivery and knowledge in business world, which she admires. Let's welcome Chitra for her evaluation of Roberta's speech.
Hello, everybody. It was a pleasure looking forward to Roberta's speech after a long time, and I really appreciate that. And the great part about her speech was the strong message she conveyed through a simple story which everybody could relate to and have been gone through this journey. She stood up and gave her evaluation to show that this speech is important and you should listen to the speech, and the message what I want to give you will reach out to people who are listening to it. I really liked how she had imagined and visually helped us imagine what she had as an image of a coach and what she went through. The visualization was intact with what she went through in her head. If I had to say something to improve on, I could say that the space we speak over here is limited. So hand gestures above and below is very difficult to concentrate on. So we should keep in mind the frame of the place where we are going to give a speech, so that we can understand how people from the other end can perceive your hand gestures. I knew that many places where your gestures were under the camera's angle. So I knew from your arms that you were going to show the emotion, but I couldn't figure out what kind of gestures, which were because it was not on the frame. You had really had attained the purpose of the speech. The purpose of the speech had to have something where expertise outside Toastmasters. And you said, I have an expertise in the subject for about 30 years, and saying that you also had your failure records in that. And an aspect of coaching which you learned over here was a critical message that you shared us to all of us, that we can all share, we can all learn from. And it doesn't nearly apply just to that situation, but to all coaching experiences and what we should also expect when we are coaching somebody else. I really appreciate your work behind the speech, behind the simple story, which gave a clear message to the audience. Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you, Chitra, for your evaluation. Now we will hear the report from the functionaries to tell us how we performed during this meeting. First, Madam Timer, can you tell us your report?
So for the prepared speeches, Cyril, you took 7 minutes and 9 seconds. Roberta was exactly on 7 minutes. Table topics, luckily everybody was under their given time. For evaluations, Grant, you took 3 minutes and 11 seconds, I think, because I lost connection in between, but I'm pretty sure you were under the time. Chitra, you took 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And Xavier, who had an educational moment today, exceeded his time with 4 minutes and 3 seconds. But I don't think anybody had a problem with it. Over to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. The next functionary will be Mr. Lee, the accountant. Can you please tell us how many filler words we used today?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Everyone did a good job tonight. Actually, I rarely heard filter words tonight. My working sheet is kind of empty. Congratulations. Yeah. Back to General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lee. The last functionary will be Madame the grammarian, who masters the language, you know. Yeah, Madame grammarian, Sarah, can you please tell us how well we use the language today, and if we didn't, where we can improve?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. There were a lot of great things in the meeting today. If I were to choose a grammatical device of the day, which maybe we should going forward, there were quite a few metaphors. Xavier had the metaphor of a roller coaster. Roberta used a marathon and the training therein as a metaphor. Metaphors work really well to give us something that we may have more experience with, to connect with what is being described to us. They're almost the same as similes. Metaphors are like similes in that similes use like or as, but Roberta and Xavier both just said, this is a roller coaster, this is a marathon. So that makes it a metaphor instead of a simile. Roberta also had a nice dichotomy of, we had experience and then we had emotions, and then she gave us a list of experiences and a list of emotions. And she didn't have to specify that that's what she was doing. We were able to track with that as she gave us, I'm pretty sure it was also following the rule of three examples of experiences with 3 examples of emotions. Cyril, I love that your mentors were alliterative, not intentional probably throughout your life, unless you just seek out those A types. There are a few things that I wanted to point out about your speech in particular. Twice you used the same phrase, one of the sweetest person, and in English we would say one of the sweetest people. Also, you used the same phrase about your mom, and then I don't remember who the second one was, but
Great.
yes. So having perhaps a different way to describe the second person would have also been great. Cyril used the word of the day. Alex used the word of the day. 4 of our table topic speakers used the word of the day, and Xavier snuck it in there too. I appreciate all of that as well. That wraps up my grammarian report for the day.
Thank you, Sarah, for your extensive report. Now, for the general evaluation of the meeting, I think we did very well today as we started the meeting almost on time. It was, like I said, during the past meetings that we made some effort to join the platform ahead of the time, and most people tried to do that today. That helped us to start the meeting on time. That was great. Congratulations to everyone for that. Also, the table topics was a very nice portion today. I don't mean that the past sessions were not good, but we had very philosophical and thoughtful questions that required us to ponder before responding. I really enjoyed those questions that we can even relate to after the meeting. And thanks to Xavier also for stepping up once we had a speaker dropping out to give this educational moment that helped us to fill in the time that was very great, especially coming from the VP education. That is a great sign of leadership, stepping up when you are needed. That is something very, very interesting to appreciate. So that said, I think that's all for my report tonight. I return the control of the meeting to Mr. Toastmaster. Over to you.
Thank you, Mami. For our next portion, we enter the time where we announce the winner of Table Topics, and they can accept the reward of nothing other than having their name announced after a drum roll. So please unmute yourselves and give us a uproarious drum roll for our winner, Mami. Congratulations, Mami. Know that we're sending gifts of love and imaginary chocolate. Again, as I said earlier, I absolutely loved the speeches and the table topics. The questions and responses were absolutely amazing. And I thoroughly enjoyed asking people questions about social unity. And all I can hope is that whatever increases we had in being able to lead well or speak, I hope that we all took the opportunity to listen well, because I believe that's where social unity starts. That we get on this call, we hear some speeches, we grow in some skills, but most importantly, that we come unbiased, we humble ourselves, and we hear with our ears and our minds and our hearts the stories that everyone else is sharing on these calls. And the challenge is, let's go bring that to our everyday lives and the world around us. Continue to be stretched, go seek out the people that we don't really know and aren't familiar with, learn their stories. Challenge as much to myself as to everybody else. Thank you for coming today, for sharing, and we'll pass it over to the president for their closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Brendan. It's really always good to have you as a Toastmaster of the day. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mami, Cyril, for being with us, despite the fact that you are not in Rochester. And thank you very much, Ming Chuo, who woke up at 6 a.m. to join us at this meeting. Wow, I don't know if I can do that. We have a guest today who is Gurav, and I would like now to have his feedback for this meeting. Gurav?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Is it clear? Yeah. So I am to start about myself. It's like I'm a third year PhD student in computing and information sciences. This is my first time in the Toastmaster. Actually, I get a bit nervous when it comes to interacting with people of diverse, you can say, background. But I thought that I should be valiant enough to overcome my issue. I hope I used it properly in my introduction. And I like to thank Chitra for inviting me and Hassan for welcoming me in the private chat. I was a bit like, of course, I joined the meeting late, but it was like, should I join it? Should I turn on my video? Or like, should I? Otherwise, because it was the most well organized, you can say, meeting, I did not want to disrupt in between. And talking about the meeting, it was having an interesting topic about social unity, which helped me learn more about different cultures, especially Nelson Mandela. The topic, of course, I heard about it, but actually, what the story behind it, I came to know in person. And also, I will not take much of the time because else Bhakti will point the timer at me. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gurav. Thank you for being with us. I hope you will also join the meeting next week, and why not becoming a member? And if you'd like to know how to join the club, you can talk with Bhakti, who's sitting next to Shita. She'll give you more information about how to join the club. So thank you very much. Thank you all. This is the end of our meeting, and see you next week. Bye.